Welcome to another episode of the DraftKings Fantasy Soccer Show here on the Jamie Hinks Fantasy Football channel. So coming up today, I've got my picks for the upcoming game. So I go through my 8-man lineup for this weekend and just give you a little bit more information on why I've picked each player. Then I'm going to be going into my lineup from Tuesday night, which didn't do well at all. I'll be going through every single bad thing that I did and the little tiny good things that I did. So guys, stay tuned. Coming right up is my lineup of the week. So let's get straight into my lineup now. First up, I've gone for Aurelio Gomez of Watford, who's $5,300 on DraftKings. Hasn't got a great points average, but I think that because they're at home to Burnley on this match day, who have only scored 4 goals on their travels and got 1 point, I think he's a great pick just because I'm looking for a win and a clean sheet bonus here. 2.6 saves per game isn't great, but I think the clean sheet and win bonus is enough for you to take him. So let's move straight into the defence. I've gone for Seamus Coleman, 5,600. He's getting to be one of my favourite fullbacks, defenders in general on DraftKings Fantasy Football right now. I am a big Milner fan, but with Coleman at over $2,000 cheaper than Milner this week, you have to take Coleman instead. Contributed directly to the goal against Stoke. He's got plenty of double-digit games in his last few weeks, and he's playing basically as an auxiliary right winger in this formation, which gives him so much value for fantasy players, especially in a home game against a Bournemouth team that are absolutely terrible. I saw them play on Tuesday night. They looked completely at sea against Palace, and let's face it, Palace weren't in great form at all. It was a really nice game for Palace to have, and it's going to be a really nice game for Everton to have. Plus, Everton have been keeping quite a lot of clean sheets lately, especially on home soil, and I see Coleman possibly getting a goal, definitely being in amongst it and getting you above 10 points. So my second defender is Harry Maguire of Hull City. There's been a lot of buzz around him on Twitter in the DFS space, and for good reason. $3,600 on DraftKings. He's still very, very cheap. He's getting double-digit points most games so far, especially against the big teams. And Hull, of course, playing against Liverpool this weekend. And whilst I don't see a Hull clean sheet with Maguire, you're getting points in various categories. He's one of these centre-backs who likes to maraud forwards quite a lot through the middle. And what that's done is it's giving him the chance to get a shot off every single game. So I think he's averaging around 1.5 shots per game. He's had multiple shots in the last few games, especially in the Chelsea game that they lost at Stamford Bridge. But he's also got good tackle average for a central defender. He's got 2.4 tackles, 1 per game, and 2.3 interceptions per game. So you know that he's actually going to be scoring points across categories. And I think 3,600, it's allowed me to save quite a lot of money to spend further up my team. And the first one of those that I've saved the money to pay for is Ross Barkley of Everton, of course, 9.4 fantasy points per game this season. 6,300 I think is actually quite cheap for Barkley. He's had 5 successive double-digit fantasy point outings on DraftKings in his last few games, and he only had a goal or an assist in 2 of those games. So he's scoring points well, even when he's not scoring or getting assists. Also, with Barkley, he scores points across a lot of categories, so you don't have to just rely on one. There's a smattering of points everywhere. And since he's been played in an attacking role, I think pick him most weeks because Everton seem to be getting, these Everton players seem to be getting quite a lot of points. I had him in one of my lineups earlier this week on Wednesday, and I wasn't disappointed, and I'm not going to be disappointed again this weekend. So the top price midfielder on this slate is Christian Eriksen of Tottenham, and for good reason in my view. He's $9,900 on DraftKings, but I pick him every single time in a home game against Middlesbrough. He was one of the only Spurs players to really come out of that Sunderland game midweek with any credit, and 16.75 points in that game. He's got 9 double-digit outings in his last 10 games for Spurs, which is absolutely incredible stuff from Eriksen. 6.1 crosses per game. He's really got past that blip that he had earlier on in the season, and I'm very happy about it because he just scores fantasy points every single week on DraftKings. Isn't the best one to pick on Fantasy Premier League just because I don't think his goal threat is that high, but when you're getting points for crosses, you're getting points for his shots, of course, where he's third only to Zlatan and Aguero in the Premier League, and it just shows you how much of a valuable fantasy commodity he is. Plus, if Harry Kane gets a couple of goals, you could easily see Eriksen getting the assists on them. So I think put your bank on Eriksen this Saturday and you won't be disappointed. So you're going to have to excuse my bias a bit with my 2 forward selections, but I really think that Palace are going to do well this Saturday against Sunderland. So I've gone all in on the Eagles. First up, Christian Benteke at just $6,700, back on the Premier League goal trail, of course. He scored midweek in that game at Bournemouth, and you could just see how much it meant to him. He went and celebrated with the fans after the goal. he looked the happiest man in the whole ground, apart from when Big Sam found out that we'd got a clean sheet. He was the only person who was happier, I think. But Benteke, 9 goals this season. I think with Wilfred Zaha back in the team, it adds real value to picking Benteke, just because he's going to have more chances to score goals. Those two seem to be linking up well together when earlier on in the season, And I think Big Sam's just going to be aiming to get the balls into Benteke. Has been known in the past as a long ball manager. I don't want to call him just that. But the delivery Palace have got from the wings really adds great value to picking Benteke, especially against the Sunderland defence that has not been great this season. So the second Palace player in this stack is, of course, it's Wilfred Zaha, 7,300. A little bit more pricey than Benteke, but what he brings to the table is a more guaranteed point performance when you put him up against the Belgian striker. He scored 12.5 fantasy points on his return to the team against Bournemouth on Tuesday night, and those points were spread across a range of categories. What you're getting with Zaha is you're getting shots on goal, you're getting crosses, you're getting fouls drawn. Did concede a few fouls on Tuesday night, but he more than made up for that in all the other categories, and I wouldn't really worry about the fouls when it comes to Zaha. Sunderland play with basically almost the same formation as Palace at the moment, but I just don't trust left-back Javier Manquillo to be able to do anything against Zaha this week. He's hugely dangerous, especially against the Sunderland team. And 4 goals, 6 assists this season, so having the best season he's ever had. I don't think he'll be at Palace next season, but exploit him while you can, and while he's at the Red and Blues, get him in your fantasy team this Saturday. So finally, you've probably guessed who this is going to be. It's Robbie Brady, 4,600, 7.3 fantasy points per game in games for Ireland this year that have been scored by DraftKings. But third for crosses last season with 243 crosses in the Premier League for Norwich. Burnley, similarly, an average side, I think, especially away from home. But don't let that put you off Brady. He has good performance in a lot of different categories, and I think you'll be happy if you pick him, just because it's a tough game for Burnley, because every away game is right now. But I think you can count on Brady to get plenty of points, especially if he starts. With Stephen Defoe out, he could well start, and I'll be definitely putting him in my lineup. So there's my lineup right there. So in goal, Aurelio Gomez of Watford. In defence, I've gone Seamus Coleman and Harry Maguire, the cheap one from Hull. Then I've gone for young Ross Barkley in midfield alongside the high point scoring Christian Eriksen. Up front, Crystal Palace stack, Christian Benteke, the goal scorer from Tuesday night, Wilfred Zaha, who got him back to the team from the African Cup of Nations, and then I'm rounding it all off with the fantasy gem to end all fantasy gems, Robbie Brady. So for those of you that regularly watch my videos, you'll know that I go through my lineup that I played on the match day before, just to go through a bit of the strategy that went right and some of it that went wrong. Tuesday just gone, it all went wrong for me. I only scored 73.25 points. It was a really unpredictable evening because there was a lot of goals from centre-backs. But if only I'd trusted Palace and gone for Benteke and Zaha like I have on this match day. So the things that worked for me were Tom Heaton got me 20 points, which I was really happy with. I think going on Burnley's keeper at home, you have to do it every single time. Plus, he has the most saves per game of any keeper in the Premier League, so you know what you're getting. Also, I was really impressed that Jack Wilshere got 9.25 points. Granted, Palace did kick lumps out of him for a lot of the game, and that was where most of his points came from fouls drawn. But when they're playing a relegation-threatened team and they're playing a team that are battling, I think you get Wilshere in there because he does control the game, and the balls that he puts through, he will get an assist at some point. Also, Alexis Sanchez, 18.75 points. Goes without saying, this guy's an absolute fantasy beast. Scores points every week, and I would back him. I'd back him 10 times out of 10 in that game against Watford. I know Arsenal lost, but if you go through the process of picking a lineup, you'll have looked at the form and you'll see that Arsenal again should have won that game looking at current form, and it was only like a very weird turn of events that made sure that didn't happen. The things that didn't go well, Spurs just didn't deliver for me at all. It's another game that I expected to be an easy win for Spurs. They tend to win away from home well against these bad teams, but all the teams at the top of the league tended to slip up this midweek. Spurs, one of them. Ali, 3.25 points, very, very poor. Danny Rose's injury really hurt me. He only got 2 points. And also Demarai Gray, who I had to put in because Remy didn't start. So what I did was replace Remy and Fraser with Demarai Gray and Jack Wilshere. And Demarai Gray was really, really bad. But yeah, that's how it goes with playing fantasy football. You win some, you lose some. And this week, I'm going to be winning again. So guys, thank you very much for watching again this week. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up below. had a couple of videos that just went up towards the end of this week. So I've got the betting shop video, which is with my mate Adam Hull from Sunbets, where we go through the best bets of the week, linking it all to fantasy football, and then we give Adam's bet of the week. And it's really something that you should tune into because I'm confident he's going to win some people some money this week. And also I had a deadline day special with another one of my mates, Edo Del Monte from Calcio Mercato, where he gave some excellent insight on 4 of the signings that have come over from Serie A. So both of those videos, get onto the channel, subscribe, and you'll get notified when there's even more content on the channel. Leave me some comments below if you want to. I'll try and get back to them as soon as possible. And best of luck in this week's contest. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.